It's the Brad and John Show.
It is the Brad and John Show for Friday, December 27th. This is the B Block. And the reason I say that is because if you're listening to the future, you'll have some reference as to what we're talking about as far as the current events which are going on today on Friday, December 27th. Okay, there's a running joke. There's several running jokes between John and I. John, in your entire life, how many times have you dialed 911?
0.0.
And can I ask a question? Is there a reason for that? Are you never in a situation?
Yeah, I'll tell you exactly why. Never once have I seen my house on fire. Never have I seen a neighbor's house on fire. And never have I seen something where I saw a little fragment of metal in the road and thought, you know what? I don't value my time. I'm going to pull over and place a 911 call because I see a little piece of debris in the road. Yeah, so that's why, Brad. I've never had any of those things happen.
Last week, I was westbound on Highway 40, just east of Dallas, and I saw some cars up ahead of me doing some quick lane changes, and I go, oh, I wonder what's going on up there. And as I got closer, I saw what it was, a wheelbarrow, not a little one, what a big one, a big monstrous construction wheelbarrow. And if you hit that at 60 miles an hour, that would not be a good thing for your car. There's a good chance, depending on what kind of car you had, it might even total your car. And so I picked up the phone, which is going to be illegal as of, how's that going to work? When January 1st, the new 911 or the new cell phone thing goes into, if you see something like that, is it illegal for me to call 911? I guess it would be, right? I can't hold
and the only reason the law was passed was because 911 operators are like, there's an 89-year-old man who keeps bugging us every day. Can we do something about this?
So I called 911, and I guess I got Town and Country Police. The problem with the 911 system is, depending on where you're at, you may be in Town and Country, but you may get the Frontenac Police or whatever it is. Anyway, I called him and I said, there's a wheelbarrow westbound 40 between lanes 3 and 4 from the left, and people are dodging. And the guy says, okay, thanks. You're the first call we got in this. So I thought to myself, I got to tell John about this because...
Yeah, very nice. You get the pat on the head, Brad. The guy gave you a pat on the head. That's what matters.
I'm the first call. Okay, big story. Fox News yesterday. I don't know if you had this or not. I didn't get a chance to take a look at your stuff for when we ended the air this morning. But Cori Bush, what's she going to be up to now that she's going to be in 2 weeks out of a job, right?
Yeah, no, Brad, I did not. I'll look for this as we're talking. What's the story?
Okay, here, let me bring it up here real quick. They talk about her and Mr. Fire Alarm Puller. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, Cori. Yeah, Jamal Bowman.
Right. You know what? They need to resurrect the old Bud Light commercials. Mr. Fire Alarm Puller. Yes, that's right. Yeah. He pulls those fire alarms because when there's a fire, he wants people to know about it. Mr. Fire Alarm Puller.
She said she'll always be squad, Brad.
Right. So you found the article. That was what I was talking about. Okay. She's always going to be squad. Okay. And there's an interesting story about this as well, too, in that there's a story that was on Fox, and I saw a couple others, that they're saying that the Democrats have really blown it by not putting AOC on this big, powerful committee. Instead, they put an old, doddering old man, a guy like me, who's been on the committee for a while. And Jen Psaki, did you see this story as well, too?
No, I didn't see this one at all.
Jen Psaki said this is a huge mistake for the Democrats because this would be able for the Democrats to be able to show a younger face of the Democrats, because she's concerned that you got Nancy Pelosi, who's is not Speaker of the House, but she's still pulling strings. You got all these old dudes on the Republican side who are running things, Chuck Schumer and people like that, and they're essentially saying, we need a young, fresh, vibrant face to be front and center. This is according to Jen Psaki, and she says this is a terrible move. I think she called it, I don't know if I saved the story or not, I think she actually called it a death move, to the point where they said this is furtherance of the death of the the Democratic committee. I'm going, whoa, man, she's being tough on this. You know what I'm saying? Let me see if I can find that.
Yeah. So, but you would agree with that, right? Like, you would agree that Democrats need a younger, more attractive face, wouldn't you say?
See, you made fun of me, and you put. I love the thumbnails you're doing for our YouTube podcasts, where you have my picture. That's where did you find that? That's my Hall of Fame picture. I don't mention that much anymore. Do you know that? You know about this?
No, what's that?
The picture you have of me with my hearts in my eyes.
That's St. Louis Media Hall of Fame. Yeah,
right. That's my Hall of Fame picture. Okay, and because you say I'm in love with Valentina Gomez. Okay, now I'm saying that Missouri screwed up because why did she go to Texas? Do you know why she went to Texas? Do you have any idea?
No, why is that?
I don't know. I thought you might know. I mean,
I thought you and her were text buddies and you knew. Well, I mean, Brad, don't you think that there's more money to raise? And I'm not sure. For some reason, somebody said she was in the Dan Crenshaw district. So I guess that would make sense. I mean, there's just more money to raise, and you have a higher profile if you're in Texas, like more than Missouri.
But see, you made fun of me because I called her the Republican AOC, and
yeah. But AOC has actually gotten elected.
Well, but I mean, okay. AOC, when she got elected, was, and by the way, John, there's a really good documentary, which I don't want you to watch. I think it's called Rocking the House. Please do not watch that.
I'll watch it. Okay, if you hate it, then I'll definitely watch it.
It's terrible. You won't like it. You'll go, oh my God, Brad gave me a terrible recommendation. I'll never watch anything he doesn't tell me to watch again.
Point that they're both attractive. Yeah, I think that point, Brad, and that they have very strong, attractive personalities, or at least strong personalities. Yeah, I agree with you totally. The difference is AOC is running in a district where she could get elected, and Valentina is 0 for 1. That doesn't mean she'll never get elected.
But
it just means she couldn't win an 8-way Republican primary in the state of Missouri.
See, I need to make a call to Mike Carter, and he probably won't take my call. I don't understand what happened with him. I mean, when he ran for Senate, he spent buku bucks running for Missouri State Senate. Okay, he runs for Secretary of State. He spends no money. I mean, what was it, just to keep his name out there? To hey, I run for something every year. I'm just gonna put my name in for Secretary of State. He didn't really do anything. You know what I'm saying? Why would you do that?
And I'm not poking at you on this, Brad, but I think like a statewide campaign for Mike Carter is like you buying another domain name. Like, it doesn't, relatively speaking, if he's out $500,000, what does Mike Carter care? It's like you buying a $10 domain name.
So you're saying he just does it for sport?
Well, yeah, and I think there are people that, every time he runs, he gets more people knowing who he is. And I don't know what Mike Carter's end goal is. Maybe it's just to have fun. Who knows?
Well, but I mean, why would you go in one election cycle where you spend a huge amount of money? Matter of fact, I think he was on Scott Fawn saying this about the fact that he essentially self-funded his campaign. I think he spent $500,000 running for state Senate in the primary, and he got blown out in the primary. And his comment on Scott Fawn was that he was going to repay the money, back to his personal account because of the fact that when he became the candidate for state Senate position out in St. Charles County, the western part of St. Charles County, that he would essentially raise all sorts of money and repay himself. Well, that didn't happen, so he's out $500,000. So why would you run for a state office and not spend any? And the bizarre part of it was, I will be up front and tell you this, he bought some advertising with us in both stations. He bought like 2 months before the election, actually about 4 or 5 months before the election, he started running ads. I called him up one day, hey, Mike, you're running ads. Can I throw you a proposal? Yeah, shoot me a proposal. And he bought it. And they were just generic ads about him. Hey, I'm Mike Carter, and, I love this state, and we got a beautiful bird and a beautiful flag, and blah, 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 blah. And matter of fact, that was one where, hey, this flag's so nice. If you want to fly this flag of your house, just email me, and I'll send you a Missouri flag that you can put on your flagpole, okay? And then all of a sudden, he just disappeared. And I talked to the lady who was working for him. I go, so Mike's not going to do anything? No, Mike's not going to do anything for the next 2 months, okay? So running up to the election, he spent money 5 or 6 months ahead of the election in August, but yet 2 months in front of the election, he's going to spend no money? Yeah, he's not doing anything. I don't understand it. Didn't make any sense.
Well, maybe, but here's the thing, Brad. Maybe he expected again, we're trying to read Mike Carter's mind. Maybe he thought, I'll spend some money early on. If I catch fire, I'll spend more money into this. I take Mike Carter as the kind of guy that understands what a sunk cost is and understands that whatever money he spent early on, if he didn't get, quote unquote, catch fire, then you know what? You say, hey, no harm, no foul. It's a sunk cost. I spent some money that I can't get back. No big whoop. I'm not going to put good money after bad.
Is that SUNK, sunk cost? Is that what you're saying?
Yep.
So give us a definition of sunk cost.
I'll give you, so 2 examples. In a relationship, you go to work for a company or you go to work for somebody and it just doesn't work out. They don't take it as seriously as you do for whatever reason. You can't get that. Let's say you work with them for a year. You can't get that year back. So some people will look at that and be like, well, I've already spent a year working at this company. I can't admit that I was wrong. I got to keep working at that company. Or you can cut your losses. You can realize that that time that you spent in that relationship or at that company is gone. It's sunk. It's underwater. You'll never see it again. And then say, hey, I'm just going to move on. A sunk cost in an investment is if Brad buys a stock at $100 because he believes, ooh, radio, Arbitron says that 118% of Americans listen to the radio 27 hours a day. Radio's still alive. Brad buys a share of Odyssey stocks for $10 and it goes down to $2. Brad doesn't want to admit that radio's dead and he's wrong. So he's going to say, I'm not wrong about this. Odyssey stock's going up. Now, somebody that appreciates sunk costs would say, okay, I lost 8 of my $10 already. I'm going to cut my loss and move on. Now, Brad, you wouldn't make a foolish mistake like that. I know. You wouldn't make a foolish decision like that. But I'm saying hypothetically, a sunk cost is something. So in this case, Brad, Mike Carter might have spent a lot of money early in a campaign that he'll never get back. That money is spent on media or whatever. So he says, didn't work out. No need to put more money, good money after bad. That's a sunk cost.
Now, is that an official term? Like if I looked up like
I would suggest you Google it right now.
Google it right now. Okay, hold on a minute.
Let's do it live on the internet.
See, John, how many people, like, here's the interesting thing. I'm the kind of guy that, because I believe that radio should be spontaneous and fun, and whenever I grab my phone and say, well, let's call him, John will go, no, don't call him. But
you've been right. You were right more than you're wrong, Brad.
Right.
And I am wrong about that more than I'm right.
Right, because once again, this is, in a typical radio station like KMOX or something like that, the producer would call 2 days ahead. Hey, Mark McCluskey, we'd like to talk to you on the air on Friday morning at 7:35, but we want to make it sound like it's not been planned. Can you do that, Mark? Oh yeah, no problem. But
Okay, so what does it say about sunk costs?
I can't find it. Hold on, I'm still looking. I'm in. Can I look it up on Urban Dictionary? Here, I'm looking.
No, Brad, Google it because I have it. It took me 0.5 seconds, and I have the definition from Investopedia in front of me.
Okay, hold on a minute. Sunk cost. Okay.
I wouldn't go to Urban Dictionary unless you're looking up definitions about specific torque moves or Drake and Kendrick Lamar beef terms.
Here it is right now on Urban Dictionary. Anything that you've spent and won't come back, money, time, energy. And then they use it in a sentence. Don't make a sunk cost controls your decision. If it makes you on the huge loss, then abandon it. I'm reading that word for word.
That's correct. And besides Urban Dictionary, Investopedia says sunk costs are expenses that cannot be recovered and should not influence for future decisions. So if you're in a relationship with someone and you've invested a lot of time and they're emotionally avoidant or they're emotionally anxious and they're annoying you or whatever, you could say, yeah, but we've been dating for 3 months and I bought her dinner that one time and flowers before she went to Todd's house. No, those are sunk costs. Like, write her off. Be done. You're always better off finding younger, fresher women than trying to dig in the trash with your past relationships. That's Rollo Tomasi quote. Go ahead.
Listen to John. Okay, let's use a local example. The Rams Park out there in Earth City, is that a sunk cost? Because the state and the city, the state, the county, I think they put money into that, and now what's his face, Kroenke's going to get it back for $1.
Yeah, it depends on who it is. Now for Stan Kroenke, it's not a sunk cost because if he still has the rights to purchase it for $1, he might as well purchase it. He might as well exercise those rights and then sell it to someone. So it's an asset for him. The concept of sunk cost is so important in every aspect of our life, Brad. Think of people that would buy a house in a terrible neighborhood because they want some kind of, I'm going to learn how to flip a house. And then the value continues to depreciate, but they don't want to admit they're wrong. The sunk cost fallacy has more to do about your own ego and your own willingness to say, look, I was wrong. I made a bad decision. Let's move on. But people don't want to do that. Brad Hildebrand 2.0 in that example wants to believe I couldn't have been wrong about buying Odyssey stock. The market's wrong. That's the ticket. And then they have a $2 virtually worthless stock that they should have sold when it was at $8.
John, can I give you my classic stock example, which is just I'm always going to play devil's advocate with John. Okay?
I want to hear it.
1994, I sold my business. Okay. and I had a 6-figure check in the bank. So I had, and I'll say right up front, it was a $100,000 check. It was a down payment on my business, okay? I got a $100,000 down payment on my business, okay? And at the time, Carl Icahn was doing all sorts of crazy things with TWA. I went down to Charles Schwab in Clayton. They used to be here in Clayton, right in the corner of Forest Park Parkway and Hanley. And I walked in the door, and who was the guy that was there? And he was a Charles Schwab agent at the time. He used to be a sports reporter on Channel 2. Greg, can't remember his name, Greg something or other, okay? And I walked in, I said, I'd like to open up an account, and I would like to make my first purchase. And he opens up the account. I transfer the money into my Charles Schwab account, and I said to him, I would like to buy 100,000 shares of TWA. And he about fell off his chair. What at the time TWA stock had come out of bankruptcy. It had gone down to $1 a share. So I was going to buy $100,000 worth of TWA stock.
So you were going to gamble, essentially, is what you're saying.
Right, which was $1 a share. And he brings his manager over, and they sit there and they try to talk. Oh, sir, you're a new customer. We can't allow you to make this trade. This is terrible.
And how did it end up, Brad? Let's cut to the chase.
It went to 6.
So you would have made $500,000.
I would have made
imagine, Brad. So you were right, they were wrong.
What's...
Imagine, Brad, if the company went out of business, they would have a first-time customer saying, I went to Charles Schwab, and they let me put all my money in one stock. Can you believe it? And every Democrat lawmaker would be on TV. We're calling for an investigation of Charles Schwab because they let this elderly man who has no idea what the hell he's doing with money, they let him waste $100,000. But see, so here's the sad part of the story. I took that $100,000 and I went up to Ameristar Casino, which wasn't even there yet, and I put it $100,000 on black on the roulette table, and it came up red. And the guy said to me, Brad, what a poor choice. And then they pulled the Nelly thing where they caught you with a little ecstasy and some ticky-tack foul, and all of a sudden you're in the post.
And they found out I had a bench warrant out of Charlac for a ticket that I'd never paid for. Right.
Now in 2024, you could have taken that check and put it in E-Trade or, Charles Schwab online and actually made that purchase.
I think they still restrict you, don't they? Don't they have limits and stuff like that? You can't just do. I mean, the crazy thing about this is John knows the term, and I had somebody recently ask me this about, say they heard this and they go, what is an accredited investor? And John, you know exactly what that is, correct?
I don't know. I don't know what it would be. I mean, I guess it shows that you would have to show that you have cash. So you couldn't go to Charles Schwab and say, I want a $5,000 loan to buy NVIDIA stock today. No, you would have to have at least, I think, I don't know. I can't say a number. No, but I'm guessing you'd have to have at least 50,000 cash. And then that would keep that way you'd be able to avoid day trade charges and things like that.
I'm surprised you really don't know this because this is an actual.
I don't. I mean, here's the thing. Well, I'm not going to get into that. But
okay.
If you don't know whether you have enough cash or not, then you probably don't have enough cash. You get what I'm saying, Brad? Yeah,
but it's actual defined. I'll pull up the definition because if you're going to give me sunk cost definition, I'm going to give you accredited investor.
I'm sure this is going to be a banger of a segment. On some of our segments, Brad, on YouTube, I've started to put skip in parentheses. I know you don't read the descriptions, but when there's stuff that I recommend that people don't need to listen to, I'll just put skip in parentheses. It helps people out a lot.
And you know what? On YouTube, they put a skip on our entire channel. It just says skip. So, that's what it says. Okay.
Thanks for checking out the Brad and John Show podcast. This segment of the show is brought to you by John Combest's book, Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling, A Guide to Recovering and Rebuilding After Online Attacks. It's a great reference if you've ever been the unfortunate target of a social media attack. It's available on Amazon. Just search John Combest. That's Combest, John Combest, and the book will show up in your search results. Now it's time for another segment of the Brad and John Show. Can you handle it?